You're back from Las Vegas?
I am back from Las Vegas. Yeah,
How was it?
tiring, but good. It was good. Las Vegas, I'm not a big fan of because I usually go there on a shoots and I'll be like 3 days and I actually don't go outside and I get no fresh air and you feel like you've been like, because they make the
Yeah.
casino so you don't know whether it's 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. You got no idea. And also I find it's so dry there. Everything's so dry. So like, especially when I'm working and I'm photographing, my hands always come back and I look like a snake. Um, but it was fine. It was
And
good.
you're not intoxicated, so you really can't relate to everyday life.
Yeah, you're right. When you're working and you're walking around and you're seeing, although I do find just Vegas is a crazy cultural case study of just like human behavior. When you see these people and they're at the slot machines and they're going like this and they look like they've been there for 40 years and never moved. I think,
There's a book in itself.
yeah, you're right. But no, it was productive. I was shooting. I a lot of the Las Vegas hotels, MGM, Wynn, those like properties, Marriott are my clients. So I shoot lots of lifestyle stuff for them. So I was doing some hotel lifestyle stuff, and then Google had a big conference there, but I was also helping photograph some people there. So it was fun. How are you all doing?
Well, we have sun. We don't we have, it's nice to know what it looks like
Good.
for all the time. We've had 3 full days.
We've been waiting for that, Joanne, to mean we can do our fast shutter speed pictures outside. So good to know. Joanne, do you want to turn your video on? You're the only person who doesn't have your video on.
Oh, I see that. Thank you.
Don't worry, you're good. Okay, so
So Adam, I met my daughters in Colorado, so I'm gonna have to probably leave after about an hour and 15 because I have to pick up some kids. So
no problem. Thank you for letting
I
me know.
look forward to the rest of the recording.
Yeah, you can watch the recording. Cass, did you send me any pictures?
I didn't, sorry.
No, you're fine. I just want to make sure I didn't miss it. I didn't miss it.
I'm just behind you ladies and I'm trying to catch up and it's really exciting. So,
You're doing a good job. You're
well,
doing
thank you.
um okay. How did everyone find bit of a open vague theme that I gave you
I,
moment? What did you
I
think?
thought it was a great word. When I first heard it, I thought, what does that mean? How kind of slow does that one moment, really 1 second, or anyway, it was a great thing to remember and think about, and I had fun doing it. Whether you consider it a moment, I did for the ones I sent in, and they were new experiences actually.
Yeah, good. And when you think about it, the essence of photography, whether we're using a fast shutter speed, a slow shutter speed, whether we're using a big F number, a small F number, is capturing moments in time. It's the beauty of photography. It's innately as an art form, unlike pretty much anything else, is we can like freeze a moment that's probably never going to happen again.
Mhm.
And photography is really fun when you learn how to play with manipulating and adjusting and altering your pictures to show moments in different ways. And you've all done that we'll take a look at everyone's photos. We'll take a look. I'm going to share my screen. And then on the agenda for today, per Susie's request, we're going to talk a little bit about workflow, digital workflow, backing up, how to make sure that everything in Lightroom is in the right place, how to make sure if your computer blew up that you're not going to lose all your photos, which obviously we don't want to happen. I just actually, before I do that and before I share my screen, other than Nancy, everyone here is on a Mac, right? Everyone's on
Mhm.
an Apple.
Mhm.
Okay.
No,
Kath.
no, Suzette isn't.
Oh, Suzette, UPC.
Yes,
Okay, good. I didn't know that. Okay,
Oh,
fine.
I'm not the
proudly,
only one.
So you're
proudly.
you and Nancy are representing Microsoft. Good.
My daughter is a very long time employee of Microsoft.
I was going to say, where
Okay.
you guys live, you really should be like using Microsoft products rather than Apple products. Okay, good. So I will, when I talk about things, it's the same language, it's just slightly different in terms of how we do things on a PC compared to how we do things on the Mac, but essentially how Lightroom works on both of them is exactly the same. So that's good for me to know. And what I want to do, the start of today, let's look at everyone's pictures. Let's talk about them. And then let's go from there. And then we'll spend the second half of today talking about I'd call it let's call it digital file management. Essentially, how do we manage all of our photographs? And some of you will have 5,000 photos on your computer. Some of you are going to have 50,000. I've got 500,000 on mine.
Wow.
So, but they're actually not all on my computer, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, let's get going and let's look at everyone's pictures. I'm sharing my screen now. Can everyone see?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I know Charlie couldn't come today, but can you just have a quickly?
I'm here.
Charlie's here.
Oh, you're there, Charlie. Hi, you were.
Yeah.
Oh, nice to see you. Sorry, you were hiding behind everyone else. Charlie, you're on an Apple, right? Or a PC?
No, I'm on a Mac.
Oh, you're on a Mac as well. Good, good, good. So we've just got two PC people. Can everyone just make sure that they can see their photos here?
Yes.
Good, good, good. Only because I was out of office last week and you were sending me photos and I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, let's start here. Okay, so we've got a really interesting array and diversity of photography, which is what I was hoping to get from here. Some street photography, some products, some still life, some landscape. Let's look at this one to begin with. Okay, so this is definitely capturing a moment, telling a good story. Now, I think Nancy, this is yours, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And let's look at just going to set up my pen over here. Let's look at the settings. Okay. Why do we think that this guy looks a little bit blurry? Just a tad.
The shutter speed's a little bit too slow.
Yeah. So two things. A, the shutter speed is too slow because of him moving. Anyone got any other idea what's wrong with the shutter speed in relation to something else up here?
ISO.
Nope. I'll give you a clue. Do you think Nancy was close to this person or far away from this person when she took it?
Far.
Oh,
Yeah. So look
She's
at
got
that.
her 400mm lens on
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
There you go.
and if you remember my rule, shutter speed should always be greater than 1 over the focal length. What that means in plain English is if your focal length is 400, your shutter speed should not go slower than 1 over 400. Because when we think about it, the longer the lens, right, the more wiggle we have. And that always, so here you're seeing a combination of two things. You're seeing a combination of motion blur, which is the person moving, and you're seeing a combination of camera shake, which is Nancy's hand moving, which every single person's hand would move here at 400mm. The problem was, right, I can see why Nancy did this because it was relatively dark. She found this nice patch of sunlight. It's a really interesting storytelling picture, but there wasn't that much light. So she was at 1/80th. This needs to, if this went up to 1/400th, Joanne, does the picture get brighter or darker?
I'm sorry, I was writing something.
Okay. I'll ask Susie. Susie, if this goes from 180 to 1/400, does the picture get brighter or darker?
It gets brighter.
Try again.
Darker.
It was a
I got it, darker.
Darker, yeah.
I feel like this.
Like fractions. Think like fractions.
Yeah, I feel like this is a really nice group, and you all know each other now. So don't be intimidated. No,
No.
remember, as the fractions get bigger, Susie, the numbers
Yes.
get bigger. It's
Yes.
getting faster. So like
Yes.
1/50th is slower than 1/4000.
Mm-hmm.
The bit that confuses everyone, and just to remind us all, as you go down and you go 1/40th, 1/30th, 1/20th, 1/10th, 1/5, you go like 1/2.
It's slower.
And then when you get here, then the numbers start going up. And on your camera, it looks like this. It looks like a little inches sign. And it goes all the way up to 30 with a little inches sign. That's full seconds. So you lose your it's not rather than a fraction of a second, it becomes a full second. And that sometimes confuses people because the numbers go up this way, but they also go up on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
But on some of your cameras, it depends which camera you've got. On most of your cameras, it shows it as a fraction. It puts the 1 in front of it. On some cameras, it doesn't, and that really confuses people.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you've all got the Lightroom app on your phone, haven't you? On your iPhones. Everyone got the Lightroom app? Put your hand up if you don't. Cass, you don't have it? That's okay. Charlie doesn't have it either?
I don't have it.
Okay. Well, you hold on. You've all got Lightroom on your computer, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Every single person. Okay, let's pick up your phone. I'm going to show you something cool here. pick up your phones, go to the App Store, okay? And I want you to look, just search in the App Store for Lightroom. And there's only one. It's just a blue square with LR in it.
So since I already have it, do you want me just to go to the app, the Lightroom app?
Yeah, but let's wait, Suzette, and let's let everyone else catch up and download it.
All right.
And then we'll all do it together. But yes, that's good. You've got it. So it should take just a second to download.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone tell me when you got it. And then once you've got it, click on it, open it, and it's going to make you sign in with your Adobe account. Now, what your Adobe account would be, it's the same.
Oh, God.
It's going to be it's going to be your email address, and then the password you used originally when you set up. Now, hold on, I'll help you guys out. If you've forgotten it or you don't know what it is, I'll just share my whole screen with you. If you look up in, let me share my screen. Hold on. You look up in this top here, you can see my whole computer now. Okay, if you look up in, let me just get rid of everything. If you look up in this top right-hand corner up here on your computer, there's like an infinity sign.
Wait, Adam, do we want to allow full access or not?
Yes. Yeah, yes.
Okay.
But if you can't remember your password, if you look on your computer, because you're all on the computer at the same time, you click on the infinity sign and then you click on this little pie, like it's like a pie chart. It will show you the email address that you've got your Adobe account with. And then if you've forgotten the thing, you just go preferences and you can reset the password. But hopefully you can all sign in and you remember what your password is. But yes, to Cass's point, once you're signed in, you want to allow full access. That just means that it can use the camera and it can use everything on the phone. Okay. Let me know when everyone's there.
Does it say it? Mine says enable access in settings.
Yeah, that's fine. And then it will take you to settings, and then you may just have to turn it on the camera.
Turn on the what?
When you
Camera?
turn on the
It says location, photos, Apple Intelligence, search, notifications, cellular data.
do photos, just make sure it's turned on. Okay, and then I want,
Full access.
yes, correct. Okay, the reason I want to show you this and how we got to this conversation is on your iPhones, Apple doesn't allow you to adjust your shutter speed. They purposely do that because they don't want people who don't know anything about photography taking pictures of their kids and their grandkids and their dogs, and the pictures are coming out really dark or really bright. It does it all for you. The problem with that is sometimes we could be at a baseball game or we could be capturing our dog or a flower blowing in the wind, and the iPhone has no idea. So you end up with a slightly blurry picture. You can't freeze motion. You also can't do the slow shutter speeds. So there's tons of different apps that exist to help you adjust the shutter speed on an iPhone. But given that you all have Lightroom, it's easier to stay within that ecosystem, and it's by far and away the most popular one of doing it. So what I need you to do is, once you've opened Lightroom and you've allowed access, right at the bottom, you should see it says Device, Lightroom, and Community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, hold on. For those who've got it, hit on Lightroom, the middle one. Who's it? Was it Charlie? Was it you who said no?
Yeah.
Tell me what you see.
Name, limited access, full access, checked full access.
Full access.
And that's it?
Yeah. And maybe come out of it, Charlie, and go back into it. Like close it up, swipe it up, and come back in. I'll come back to you in a minute, Charlie. For everyone else, once you're in Lightroom, at the bottom, you'll see on the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little blue camera. Okay, I want you to click on the blue camera. Okay, that's going to open up as if you're taking a picture. What you've normally seen. Now, right at the top in the middle, for most of you, it should say DNG.
I'm sorry, I'm a little behind.
What was the letter? Yeah.
After we get into Lightroom, I'm sorry, the next step, Adam, was what?
Yeah, after you hit Lightroom at the bottom,
Yeah.
Community, on the bottom right-hand corner is a little blue camera.
Yes.
Hit on the blue camera.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that what says device?
No, Charlie, you need to hit Lightroom. So at the bottom it says device, Lightroom, community. Right at the bottom.
Okay, got it.
Hit Lightroom, everyone hit the camera. We're all
Allow while using the app.
yeah, that's perfect.
Okay,
Nancy, you there?
Sort of, but go ahead.
Okay, perfect. I'm just making sure we're not leaving anyone behind. So you should be at a point where basically you can take a picture.
yes,
It looks like you can take a picture. And right at the top, it says DNG.
yes.
Okay, if you click on that, it's going to give you the option to change it to a JPEG. We don't want to do that. We want to take it to DNG. Anyone remember what DNG stands for?
Digital
Dynamic.
negative.
Yeah, good. So that's a raw file. So that's taking a raw file off your app, off your iPhone, which we want to do. Now, the key, the bit that not many people know about, is down at the bottom where the button where you take the picture is, the big gray circle. Just to the left of that, for all of you, it's going to say auto.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to click on where it says auto, and I want you to choose the second one down that says professional.
You want us to hit on professional?
When you hit on professional, you got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
I just want to make sure everyone's there. Joanne, you with me?
I'm writing
I'm
it.
not with you
You're
at
writing
all.
it down. You can write it down as well. Good. And you can go back and look at those. So essentially, I'll start from the beginning. You open
Wait,
Lightroom.
Charlotte needs, yeah, let's back up a little bit.
Yeah, you open Lightroom app on the phone. Then at the bottom, you've got device, Lightroom, community. You hit
No, I don't. I have exposure, contact, highlights, auto, light, color, blue, effects, detail, and a bunch of stuff.
what does it say? You're right at the bottom, Charlie. Right at the bottom.
It has a bunch of symbols,
Are you in
like
the
cropping.
hold on? You may be in the camera already. You may have. Are you as it? Can you turn your phone around? Let's have a look. Just go like this, so I can see. Charlie, look at me. Just go like that, so I can see. Pull back. Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, you're in the edit. Okay, there's going to be a cross on the top right or the top left-hand corner.
A crop?
Like a little back button. On the top left-hand corner is like a little triangle.
Arrow.
An arrow, yeah. Click on that.
Yeah.
Then you should see all your photos as a grid.
Yes.
Okay, and then at the bottom it should say device, Lightroom,
Yes.
Unity. Click on make sure Lightroom is blue. And then on the bottom right-hand corner is a blue camera. I want you to click on the blue camera.
I don't have a blue camera. I have device and I click on it and nothing happens.
No, don't hit on device. Hit on Lightroom. Down at the bottom.
Up at the top,
Nope, down at the bottom it says
I
device.
don't have anything at the bottom that says Lightroom. It just says device, edit, community.
Maybe you're not in the camera. Charlie, let me come back to you. I can't see because of if you take off your blur, then I can have a look in a minute. Why don't you take off your background and I'll carry on for everyone else. And then we'll come back and make sure you got it. Okay, everyone else is there, right?
Yes.
Changed it from
I'm not actually. I'm having trouble too.
okay.
I can't get to the Lightroom. I'm at continue with Adobe and Apple and all of those, but
Yeah, so you got to make sure everyone's going to make sure you're signed in, first of all. And once you're signed in, it's gonna look like a grid. And I'm going to take my blur off so I can show you. So excuse the fact that I'm currently working out of a bathroom, because I don't have a desk yet. But look, this is what you want to get to. So you want to get to this, where at the bottom you've got device, Lightroom, community. I'll take you through the whole thing. Look, when I open Lightroom, so I open the Lightroom app. Okay. It should look like this when you open it, but sometimes by mistake, you'll be on this one or you'll be on this one. I will need to make sure you're on this one, Lightroom. And then on the bottom right-hand corner is a camera.
Don't have a camera.
yeah, I don't, sorry.
Yeah.
Can you continue? Mine is continue with Adobe, Apple, Google.
Okay, so Joanne, you haven't signed in yet. So you need to do continue.
I did sign in and I put the code in, but
hit continue with Adobe and see what happens.
there, sorry.
You're okay.
It's working.
Good. Let me talk this through. and then you guys can always go back and watch the recording.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I think is the wisest thing to do.
Yeah, because otherwise I don't want everyone else to have to sit and wait. So once you have hit that camera, essentially you are taking a photo within the Lightroom app on your phone. The advantage of doing that is if you hit that automatic on the bottom left-hand corner and you change it to professional, you're going to see a whole load of things come up above the button. There's WB, white balance, there's ISO. I'm actually not interested in any of them other than the one that says SEC. Seconds. Click on it. When you click on it, you're going to get a slider down at the bottom. You slide the slider to the right, look at the top of your thing, and you will see the shutter speed
Oh
change.
my gosh.
If you go to the right, it gets slower. As you go to the left, it gets faster. And you'll also see your photo getting brighter and darker. Because if the shutter speed is slower, the picture's going to get brighter. If the shutter speed is faster, the picture's going to get darker.
Very interesting.
So this is relatively new, actually. I mean, by relatively new, it's like less than a year old. But this was the first time that you can take control of shutter speed on an iPhone. So if I know like Cass goes and photographs her grandkids at sports games, and maybe she's only got her iPhone with her. I mean, I'd love it if you use your camera, but sometimes the best camera we have is the one on you. It's great to know that we can change our shutter speed on our iPhone to freeze, show movement.
So I had my iPhone on RAW and Lightroom was on it, but I didn't know how to get into Lightroom.
Yeah.
So here we are. Now I can change it because it was so frustrating. I wanted to get the baseball. I forgot my camera. And
so Cass, you can see the SEC and you can see how you can drag it to change the shutter speed.
Absolutely.
Good.
So Adam, backtracking, if we're just starting it from the very beginning and we're out, you wanting to photograph the kids at a sports thing, we just go to the Lightroom app and then will it pop up?
It will pop up with like a grid of your photos, but you haven't taken any, so it may not have any, but it will pop up. You want to make sure on the bottom where it says device community Lightroom, that Lightroom is checked, is blue. That will then give you that little camera.
Okay.
And
I do not have that on my bottom.
all you got to do is hit the camera and then make sure it's on professional, and then you can change the shutter speed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Now, I'll add just one extra layer because I feel like this group is relatively advanced. Cass, what happens when we speed up the shutter speed? Does the photo get darker or brighter?
It gets, the shutter speed goes faster, it gets, let's see, wait a minute. If the shutter speed, it gets brighter. Wait, no, it gets dark. It freezes time, so less light because it's going really fast.
Yeah, it's like opening and closing our curtains.
I can get but the faster I go, as long as I have enough ISO, then I can get the ball moving.
Good. So you've hit the nail on the head in the net. Look next to SEC, and the one next to SEC seconds is ISO. So what you can do is you can push your shutter speeds really fast. Your picture's going to go too dark, but then you just increase the ISO. It's exactly the same as having a camera. You slide the ISO one all the way to the left, past there's like a little vertical line, then it will go on auto, which means it will change it for you. Now that's pretty good, but it's not perfect. So, which means that as you change the shutter speed, theoretically the ISO should change. But I just want you to know that you can control it. So Cass, to your point, if you sped up your shutter speed to, Suzette, I'll come to you in a sec. If you sped up your shutter speed to 1/4000 and you're like, oh my God, the picture looks too dark, you just go on the ISO slider and just push up the ISO.
Yep.
And what's nice is you see in real time the picture getting brighter and darker as you change those settings. Suzette, you had a question.
I wondered what you thought of the other phone app called Shutter Speed.
Yeah, it's good as well. Do you remember I said there's loads of them? I could give you 50. The only reason I like the Lightroom one is because you're all within the Lightroom ecosystem
Sure.
to begin
Yeah,
with.
that makes perfect sense. I was just curious as to what you thought of that particular
There's
one.
ultimately there's no real difference. All the apps use the same algorithm behind the scenes to allow you to adjust the shutter speed. I just think the Lightroom one is good because eventually, and this will come back to what we're talking about, digital file management later on today, we want everything talking to each other. I don't want to have to like, oh, I've taken this great photo and I have to email it to my computer and then figure out how to get it out my email from my computer into
Yeah.
on my computer. That just becomes a whole hassle. So it's definitely advantageous to keep us all under one umbrella. And that Lightroom camera does more than enough than what you'd want to do. It takes the shutter speed to a level that you will probably never need to go on the fast side. And it also takes it to a slower level on the slow side.
So Adam, let me ask you, when we were going through that cycle,
Yeah.
it showed some pictures, and for me, it showed pictures from 6 years ago
You mean in the grid?
in the grid.
Yeah, don't worry about that. That's just it's just accessing your photos. It's
Okay, so
not
it's gonna have quite a time there. Okay, good.
don't worry about it. On the back end, it will just automatically, because what it's doing, Cass, is it's syncing with your Adobe account. So everything that you've essentially got in Lightroom is going to go on the phone, but it's also going to be on your computer. That's why it makes you sign in. If we signed
So
you,
awesome, because we're really gonna get fluent in Lightroom with this.
Yeah.
On our iPhone as well as our camera.
yeah, I mean, I still like using Lightroom Classic on the computer. That should be your mothership. That should be the main place.
It's similar enough, right?
Yeah, it's a slimmed down version. It's just, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but it's a slimmed down version. But the big advantage is that you can take more control of your iPhone camera. And and a lot of the time, a big problem, I don't know, let's just imagine one of you went to a waterfall this week and you're like, oh yeah, I want to freeze or show the motion of the waterfall. And you only have your iPhone, you have no opportunity to do that.
Yeah, it really shows you how much control the phone has. You know what I mean? It's really exciting because with this we get control of our phone, which
Yeah,
is
and as I said at the beginning, Apple purposely hides this behind an iron curtain. And they hide it because they don't want people messing with it who don't understand what shutter speed or ISO is, because all they want, like the normal person who goes and uses their iPhone, just wants it to take a picture like their eyes see it. Just wants to get the correct brightness. What
and
this
feel good and buy another camera. Another
what this is allowing us to do is we tell, remember that I've got that phrase, the best camera is the 3 inches behind it, i.e. you. So we are taking more control because we know what we're taking a picture of. And more importantly, we know with intention what we're trying to do. Are we trying to freeze a baseball flying through the air? Are we trying to slow down a waterfall? And people get really into this, right? Like I teach iPhone courses and people just want to know how to do slow shutters on iPhones. And if you go to that seconds on Lightroom and you slide it all the way down, you'll see the picture getting brighter and brighter and brighter. Sometimes it will get to a point where you can't even take the picture, where it's so bright because the shutter speed is too slow. In that case, I'll share my screen. Actually, let me show you this. It's kind of interesting. So people get really into this and they'll go out and like buy something called a neutral density filter, which most of you know what it is, which is like putting a pair of sunglasses over an iPhone, over your camera. But people will go out and they'll be like, the main thing I want to do is I want to take pictures of waterfalls with my iPhone. And they'll go out and they'll buy something like this, which is a neutral density filter that basically just magnetizes onto your phone. Really good. Lets you take the picture from, as an example, before, after. Because otherwise, you can remember, we can't get down to slow shutter speeds without tricking the camera to think it's darker than it really is sometimes. Photographing at twilight or dusk, it doesn't make a difference. But if it's a really bright sunny day, it's very hard to use slow shutter speeds. So I think a lot of you have neutral density filters for your cameras. Great. I'm just showing you that, just for your information, because lots of people do get into this, that you can get them for your iPhone as well. They're relatively, I mean, there's some really, just be careful, there's some really rubbish ones. And there's some that are probably slightly overpriced as well. But but this will allow you to essentially be able to shoot that motion stuff. Now, what do you think you have to do to your iPhone if you're doing a slow shutter speed, Suzette?
Either put it on a tripod or hold it extremely steadily against something.
Yeah, you got it. You got to put it on a tripod. You can rest it on the bench. You can prop it up with a rock, whatever you want to do. A lot of people, I see they buy these little bean bags. You can buy them off Amazon, just like tiny bean bags, and they use them to prop because they're light, they're easy, and they use them to prop up their phones. But yeah, correct, Suzette. That's the answer I was looking for. So we just got to remember that when the shutter goes slower than 1/50, that's my cutoff. Ideally, you want to be starting to use a tripod or resting the camera on something. So I'm pleased we covered that. That was a nice aside from looking at Nancy's picture. Took us down a creative rabbit hole, but now we all know that we can change our shutter speed.
Yeah, it's great to know.
All except for one.
Well, or two.
Charlie,
I didn't get there either, Charlie, but I'm going to go back and listen to it.
go back and listen to the recording again. You open light. I'm going to say it once more. You open.
I just couldn't get all my pictures to show up, which was weird. But
yeah, you may have to allow access. So you open Lightroom, you sign in, you hit Lightroom at the bottom, you hit the blue camera. On the bottom left where the gray circle is, you change it from auto to professional. All your sliders come up. And then the most important one I want you to bear in mind is the one that says SEC, which is shutter speed, and that stands for seconds. You click on it and you can just slide it to the right and the left. If you're having trouble and you can't get there, one issue may be that you have not granted Lightroom access to be able to use your camera.
well, Adam, I don't want you to waste any more time on this with me, but just a quick question. So if I inadvertently did not allow it access,
yeah,
and then I go back into my settings to allow it access, I don't see where to allow it access.
you go into settings and you go all the way down and you find Lightroom and you click on Lightroom because you have a list of all the apps on your iPhone.
Yep.
Lightroom, and one of the things there will say allow access to camera, photos, and you just turn it on.
All right. I'll keep trying. Thank you.
Have a go. Yeah.
Suzette, I'll come over and do it with you.
We'll have a little party. I'll join you.
Just honestly, guys, I know you can get there. Just take your time.
I feel confident I'll get there.
Work your way through it. If you haven't, and I always say to everyone, don't suffer in silence. If you're having it really struggling and you can't get it, just email me and I'll help you. It's just hard sometimes in a group setting because you've all got slightly different stages, but I've really laid that out step by step. So follow the stages. If you can't get there, shoot me an email and I'm happy to help. Back to Nancy's picture. So the way we got here, the way we were talking about this was because I was saying if she would have had to increase her shutter speed to make this person sharp, her only other option would be to either have increased the ISO further, which she could have done, but then the picture would have become pretty noisy and hazy, or she could have taken down the F number. Now, again, taking down the F number because the focal length is relatively high, you're going to get less of that man behind in focus. He's going to look more and more blurry, which may not be an issue, but something to think about. Remember as well, we've covered it in the class. If you need to I'd much rather you get a correct exposure. That's to say that if you need to push up your ISO to 2000, do it, rather than take a picture at 1000 and then try to brighten it up. Especially because we have the denoise button that we've talked about, the enhanced denoise, which we spent a lot of time on in a previous class, that we can use to help reduce the noise in the picture. But a big mistake people make is they are scared to push up their ISO. So they take the picture out the camera and it looks like, oops, it looks like this. Come on, where's my bar? It looks like, they take the picture and it looks like, sorry, there we go. And it looks like this. And that's the picture that comes out, and then they brighten it. And what happens there is you actually create more noise. So you're better off to get, and that's why you have the meter on your camera, right? That you all know about. This is to mean that you get the perfect exposure. We want this to be at 0. We don't want it to be down here at -1 or -2.
Mhm.
So don't be scared, especially for all of you. Every single one of you has got a really good camera.
So Adam, when it is off and we're doing the clicks to make it go back to 0,
Yeah.
mine doesn't always show as 0 after I do the clicks.
Are you saying that it doesn't show anything or it just doesn't move?
It just doesn't move.
Well, it should do.
Okay, all right, well, I'll fool around with that.
Yeah, have a look again because
And
that
I have a
it
lesson coming
should
up.
move because as you like, if Nancy had increased her ISO here and the picture looked like this,
Yeah,
this would move from here to here.
yeah. Okay, good.
But
Okay,
the main takeaway that I'm trying to tell you all is don't underexpose your photographs and then try and brighten them. Just the theory behind that, how that works is you have like this like weird pixels like this, and then you try and blow them up, basically is what you're doing, and you just see more noise. So you're better off to get the exposure right, even if it means increasing the ISO. Because here Nancy couldn't have slowed her shutter speed down anymore because the person would have been even more blurry.
So Adam, when it turns yellow in the, or orange, like if that area around that young man was orange, what would that tell you? It was still too dark, correct?
Not necessarily.
Okay, whatever. I don't want to forget it.
Is that in your camera, Cass, you're talking about?
Yeah, in the camera.
Yeah, you may have a setting turned on, Cass, called focus peaking, which
Okay.
shows you what's sharp and not sharp, which is what it sounds like. If you start seeing, if you're seeing colors come across like people or things,
Yeah.
that's an indicator to show you which part of your photo is sharp or not sharp. I would actually, in the long run, encourage you to turn that off because it's distracting.
Okay, I'll maybe when we're on one-on-one, I'll
Yeah, just write down focus peaking. Peaking.
Okay.
Funny word, but it's just it's mainly designed for people who photograph in manual focus.
Yeah.
And they're turning the lens just so that they know what's there. Anyway, back to Nancy's picture. Good picture, really good. Let's have a show of hands. Who likes the fact that Nancy included the frame at the top and the bottom?
The frame?
Yeah.
Sorry,
I hadn't realized that.
Could you repeat that question, please, Adam?
Yeah, I was going to ask him this top and bottom. Okay, you see that you can see like the bars of the window. Okay, show of hands, who thinks it's better that they're there like this?
Well, it shows they're inside somewhere.
Yeah, it does. It provides context. Show of hands, who thinks it would be better if they took them out? Okay. I somewhat agree. I think Nancy here is at a bit of a halfway house because I think like this, you see how this one tails off? It's not straight. So we're not getting, I think Nancy could have done one of two things to improve this photo. Maybe Nancy, have a look at the crop. I think you could go back and actually include a little bit more of the window frame to really show that you're inside. Or you crop it out. But to Joanne's point, if you crop it out, you lose the context. But we really get pulled into this guy and we see that he's like creating something and making something. That's a cleaner photo. I don't mind that his head's chopped off. I really like the beautiful ray of light. This would look really good as a black and white. Got really strong light. Remember, V is the key that you can hit to give you a toggle between black and white and color. V for Victor. But really nice capture. I know where Nancy was because she happened to be with me when I took this picture. This is French Laundry. This is the chefs preparing some of the stuff there. And Nancy really skillfully managed to wait for the perfect amount of light that really nicely illuminates this guy's face. So picture, I just think the main thing, Nancy, watch the shutter speed, especially when you're zooming in a little bit more.
I think that picture is beautiful. And I was confused what the frame was at the bottom. You know what I mean?
There wasn't quite enough of it to tell us the story.
I didn't know that it was a frame even. It was hard for me to see.
Yeah, I didn't either until you talked about it.
And I think the fact that it's a little off kilter was a little distracting too.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of interesting.
Agreed. These guys are like through a window. So Nancy's photograph through a glass window. If we saw a little bit more of the window, it tells more of us. Go back. seen have a play with the crop on this one. Because I know you've probably got a little bit of room above and a little bit of room below.
I do.
And see what it looks like. But I also think it looks really nice just like this. I think this is a really clear, this looks like a picture that we could sell to French Laundry, like this used in their marketing material, which is great. Shows the chefs at work, but just the shutter speed was a little bit too slow. Okay, let's move on to this one. By the way, quality of everyone's pictures so much better, so much better. You guys are getting like week on week, you're getting better and better. Look how interesting this is. Interesting interpretation. I mean, this looks like a painting.
Wonderful.
Really abstract. There's a you can write it down. There's an artist called Julie Moretu. Have any of you ever heard of her? Mehretu. If you go to MoMA, she got commissioned, and there's two massive Julie Moretu. In fact, I'll show it to you just while we're here because it's good education. But her work is she does some photography, but she does painting and photography together. It's mixed media. But this one that you guys sent me reminded me, and I've got to find a one that's relevant now, but it reminded me of this is her. She does these massive, massive abstract pictures where she like layers photographs, colors. She's very, very well known. And she's actually an African artist from, I think she's from Ethiopia. But very, very well known. She's in the Smithsonian. She's all over the place. But very interesting person to look at, to study S-curves, lines, shape, how she frames things. Her pictures are very, very, very busy, but they usually are very intentionally designed to draw your eye to a certain point.
Never get tired of finding something in it.
No, and the basis of most of her work is actually a photograph. Is usually a white photograph, and then she adds layers on top. So the picture that we saw here just reminded me, I'll get it up, reminded me of a Julie Moretu, just because it was kind of abstract. And a beautiful, beautiful capture of these reflections in, I think it's rain. It's rain in a puddle or rain in a lake. Someone can tell me.
It's rain in a lake.
Rain in a lake. Yeah, perfect. So
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really nice. Now I don't have the settings here, Susie, but it looks like you used a relatively fast shutter speed.
You know, I don't know why it didn't. What I did, Adam, was it's with my phone, but then I did, as you suggested, brought it into Lightroom and did the enhance. And
that's why you lost it. Because when you do the enhance, it essentially a new file. So all the settings are on the old one, and when you do an enhance, it creates essentially a brand new photograph.
Okay, so theoretically, I should have sent you both.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter.
I'm just curious why.
Yes,
yeah, okay.
But if you send me the enhanced one, I'm not going to be able to see the original settings.
Got it. Okay.
Because it creates another file. I really like the angle that you've got here, Susie. I love how like some of these are so big and then they kind of fall off. And there's also some nice symmetry here. Remember we talked about the golden ratio and how when you have look at the diagonal running through that.
Right. Yeah.
And everything looks pretty in focus. So she must have used a high f-stop. Yeah.
Well, it was with my iPhone. And then I brought it in and did the enhance. So it ended up a DNG, but then it sent as a JPEG. Yeah. So
fine, don't worry. But I love the texture and the line and the pattern. It's nice that you can kind of see the reflection of those trees or plants, but you can't really tell what they are. I'll make it full screen, this one, for everyone. It's the kind of thing you could really look at. It's very artistic. It's a really nice job and definitely capturing moments, Susie.
I like that it's a black and white of water.
Yeah. And the other thing I like about the black and white, Joanne, is look how Susie, you hear me talk about this a lot, has used the full dynamic range. So we've got very dark, deep blacks in part of this picture. Here's our deep blacks. We've got very bright whites, and we have tons of shades of gray in between. That's what makes it so interesting. That's why even though it's a pretty two-dimensional thing, if you actually look at it, it looks relatively three-dimensional. It almost feels like some of those circles are coming out of the screen. I just spotted something fun here. Look, there's a face here. It looks like a Picasso face there. There's
There's the whole body. He's walking through there.
yeah. Um, but really nice capture. Very well done, Susie. And yeah, and your process of how you took it from the phone, did the enhance, and then worked on the enhanced one is the right process because you had a much bigger file to work with. Which
Yes.
And to get it to black and white, she pressed V, right?
well, to get it to black and white, you can press. I'll go back to Nancy's picture for a sec. If you're in develop and you just hit V, it just basically, yes, it turns it black and white. Now, Susie's done a lot more than just hit V.
Yeah, right.
Then there's a whole process that she's gone through to help it look more dynamic. But yes, you can toggle between color and black and white just by hitting V. And I like that because sometimes we don't know if a photo is going to look good black and white.
Mhm.
Rather than go down the whole rabbit hole of trying to convert it, which is a whole process, very quickly just make that judgment by hitting V. And usually, Cass, the thing that we're looking for for a strong black and white is we're looking for good lighting and good composition.
Yeah.
Because actually, when you strip color away from a photograph, the color can often be distracting. Like if we turned the garden behind Joanne black and white, like it's good. Well, suddenly we're going to see the lines and the S curves and things more than we do at the moment in her current background because we're being distracted by all the pretty colors. And often if the light is weak or poor or the composition is poor, it's much more obvious on a black and white photograph. So which is why this one works great because we've got really nice composition. We've got really strong light on the chef. And same here with Susie's one. But yeah, it's just V. Let's go to the next one. I love this one for a moment. This one's great. Really, really good. Do you remember I showed you that artist that photographer called Martin Parr? Do you remember the guy who's on the beach and he photographs like all these he's a good one for moments. And he photographs like people's feet and people half asleep on the beach. He does lots with birds on statues. And this,
RCARR.
no, it's Parr. Martin Parr. Parr. Again, Cass, if you go back and look at a recording, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 lessons ago. We looked at, I don't think you were there that time, but we looked at it as a group. You can have a look at him in your own time. But look how interesting this is for a moment. Now, this is me being really critical. Just be careful on the edge.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, always crop it out. It's also an interesting choice that we've decided to put it right in the middle, which kind of works because we have a certain symmetry here, but we've still got rule of thirds going on in terms of the seagull is 2/3 of the way up the frame. So I like that. Now, the one thing that I don't like here is I don't mind the American flag, but I don't like this behind him.
Just stepped over.
Yeah, exactly. You got it, Suzette. Literally moving 6 inches to the right. This would have all been hidden behind the statue. And then we would have had statue, seagull, flag, or even just statue and seagull. So
Does it also distract that I tried to do a radial gradient on his face, that his face is, and I lightened it, but I couldn't lighten it anymore, but does it distract that his face is kind of dark?
no, I don't think so at all. Because I
I
think
like it.
I think that was a smart choice. But ultimately, where is the main focal point in this picture? Where do we want people's eyes to go? Do we think?
Who's on the head?
The seagull and the poop.
It's right here.
Yeah.
So I think lightening this up was a nice choice because you can see more of the detail in the face. I think that was a smart. I wouldn't lighten it up too much,
Right.
which you didn't do, but I'll show you what like a mistake that you could have made. So you could have lightened it up. Draw a quick radial gradient here. And if we would have made it like that,
Yeah.
example,
Obviously, yeah.
now it's distracting from the scene.
Yes.
He looks like Frankenstein.
Yeah. So you made the smart choice of brightening him, but not brightening him to the same level as the seagull. Again, this one's a good candidate for black and white
Mhm.
Yeah.
because the light on the seagull is so prominent. The composition is very interesting. And now you really see the distraction of that thing behind. See it more obviously when I take away the blue sky. Remember I said black and white stands on the composition and the lighting. You've got good lighting here. I'd say composition we could slightly improve. But definite fun moment and a good capture, Susie. Very good.
And you could take out those by erasing them because
Yes,
you have a lot of complication behind it. Yes. Yeah.
That's your, but I really want you all to try to get it right in camera. Don't have to sit for 10 minutes and remove it for the sake of moving 6 inches to the right. A big thing, always think whenever we're photographing I'm going to call it subject. That can be a person, that can be a flower, that can be a pet, a thing. Just before you take the picture, just take a look and think, is there anything distracting in the background? GCA pick up on this the whole time. GCA judges, one of the most common things they always say is distracting elements in the background, distracting elements on the side of the frame. Because it's an easy call out. It's an easy criticism for them to make. So to Cass's point, yes, we can get rid of it, but I'd rather just move 6 inches to my right. It's also going to train you just to be better photographers. So just like if you're photographing a person and you're like, oh, hold on, I'm just about to take the picture, and there's a palm tree growing out of their head. Move 2 steps to the right or move 2 steps to the left, and it will be to the
I have
side.
lots of those.
The two common ones are usually lampposts and trees growing out of people's heads. So look out for that. But really nice capture, Susie. Nice job. And the reason I like this theme is you'll see we've got a lot of eclectic stuff. Look at this one. This one's really good. This is yours, Charlie, right? I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So Charlie here with some intentional camera movement, ICM. Really nice use of the exposure is almost, if I look at the histogram here, look, the exposure is almost perfect in terms of what we're looking for. I love the kind of the movement that you've got. I can't tell even what this is. You can enlighten. Grass. Yeah. But what's really nice is settings look good. F11, quarter of a second. We're seeing, I love these repetitive patterns that you're getting. That really helps to make it interesting. Now, one thing that you could have done, Charlie, here, and I don't think you need to do it too much. It's more for the benefit of the whole group, is often when we use an intentional camera movement shot, the colors, because we're moving between different areas, can appear a little bit muted or faded. A little trick, little like pro photographer's hack that you can do is if you use the dehaze slider here, it will just slightly help. Look at the colors on the left. It will just slightly help to bring out the colors, especially when you've got something more abstract. So there to there. Subtle, and it does not really need it in this one because Charlie's done a nice job on it. But if you're doing an ICM picture, I would take advantage of that dehaze slider anywhere between about 0 and 20. And it just helps to cut through some of that haze that you may have in your picture.
Do you mind my asking, Charlie, what time of day did you take that picture?
I have really no idea.
Hold on, we maybe have to.
It says 1:17, doesn't it?
Yeah, let's
I can't
At the
see
top.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay, 1:17 p.m. Okay, yeah, there it is. Okay, good.
I think it was.
Moved your camera away.
2 p.m.
Right, 1:24 p.m. It was
on
taken.
November 20.
Yeah, it's weird that actually. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's different on the.
Interesting, Charlie. Charlie, did you recently take this picture?
No,
No, so it's an old
No,
picture
it's-
from 2020.
it's an older picture.
Right. Yeah, good. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, took it in November 2020 and this is a really fun technique to play around with water. If any of you have a swimming pool or a body of water, or you live near a lake or a beach, go to the water at like an hour before sunset where the colors are starting to reflect in the water, and try this intentional camera movement.
And she just did this, right? With her camera, Charlie, kind of.
I went,
Yeah, there we go.
What? You went kind of in
Like in an arc.
in an
Like
arc.
in an arc.
Like a rainbow, like drawing
Yeah.
That's how if Charlie had gone like this, all the lines would be going from top to bottom. If she'd gone straight, all the lines would be going from left to right, but she's gone in an arc to create that movement, which looks great and really works with this kind of grassy feeling like, and again, creating something that's incredibly abstract, but really interesting. Really interesting. So really nice job, Charlie. Very good.
Thank you.
Look at this one. So
I love-
someone took another stab at our fast shutter speeds. Well done. So let's look at this one. Whose was this?
That's mine, Nancy.
Oh, okay. So nice job, Nancy. So here's our bubbles. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. There we go. Really good job, Nancy, of like filling the frame. Well done with the, do you take this outside or inside?
That was outside, but it was overcast.
So one thing I would say, I think we're like, I love all of this stuff in here. This is so interesting. Now, I think, Nancy, you could have gone higher with your shutter speed. You could have gone even faster. Now, I would have got you probably as well to drop your F number, because the thing you're taking a picture of is relatively two-dimensional. The vase with the water is not like a meter and then 2 meters and then 4 meters and then 8 meters. You're really looking, if this is you taking your picture, and here's the frame, and I'll just make up, here's the vase, okay, and the lemon's dropping in there. We only need this in focus. We don't care about anything else. So I would have been very tempted, Nancy, to push your shutter speed a little bit faster. Could have gone to like 1/1000. Could have taken your F down with this lens to f4. In fact, you weren't even that zoomed in, so your lens would have, you could have got it, yeah, you could have got it down to f4. And then ISO may have had to go to 4000. Now, ideally, I'd love you, Nancy, to try this again on a sunny day, because on a sunny day, then we can free up this shutter speed, and then this gets to like 1/4000. Or even another thing you could have done, Nancy, if it was a cloudy day, and I mentioned this, I think, to Joanne or Suzette when we were talking about photographing these on cloudy days, is you can shine a flashlight into this. Just get a light and shine a light onto the vase. And that's going to trick the camera to think that it's brighter than it really is, which lets you get to the fast shutter speeds.
Okay.
Out of interest, Nancy, how did you, just for the benefit of the group, how did you take this when it was just you? As in, how did you drop it?
I had my remote in one hand and the other hand above the vase, dropping the tangerine.
Good. And did you manually focus or did you autofocus? Can you remember?
It was on manual.
Okay, good. So that was the right
It was
thing.
on manual focus.
Good. So Nancy did the right thing. She manually focused on, and this comes back to Cass. When you manually focus, you'll see like all this orange appear around the vase, which will show you you've got it in focus. So Nancy manually focused, which meant that she could have dropped that thing in 50 times. Every time it's going to be sharp, as long as she doesn't adjust the focus. The only reason it doesn't look completely sharp here is not because
Shutter speed.
it's the shutter speed. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So did she though take one and then focus it, or wait, how
I kind of set my focus and then just played
around with it?
So imagine, here's Nancy taking her picture. Here's the vase. Okay, here's the thing being dropped in. She's manually focused before you've done, and this is the way to do it. It's correct. Before you do anything, she's manually focused on the vase. If you autofocus, that would be a disaster here, because focus would go here, then it would go here, then it would go here, then it would go here. It would jump around every time you drop the lemon in. By manually focusing, it means that we can confidently just drop the tangerine, 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 tangerine. Every picture we're going to take is going to be sharp. Cass, it's a little bit more advanced because it's going from autofocus to manual focus, which usually we don't want to do. Like, I don't want you to do that if you're photographing a baseball game.
Right.
It's a good technique to use when you're photographing something that's still.
When you're on your tripod and the whole deal.
Exactly. When the distance between you and the thing is not going to change.
Yeah.
There's several images where the bubbles are not existing. So
that's okay. It's timing.
either it fired too soon or after or too late.
But I like your crop here, Nancy. I also like something like this. You could easily flip. And especially if we crop it in a bit, and I know it looks a little bit like you get something like that, and you do a little bit of work on it.
Have no idea.
But
Yeah.
so that's just the reflection, right? That other yellow part is just.
That's
the-
what I wondered.
Yeah, you got it. It's the reflection of is that a tangerine or a lemon, Nancy?
That was a tangerine.
So all that color you see, Cass, and you can see
Yeah.
it. It's written. This,
Beautiful.
if Nancy had gone to an even faster shutter speed,
Would have frozen everything more.
that you see, can you see all the colors in every little bubble of water? You see those
Yeah,
images in there?
incredible.
Interesting. I wondered about the yellow.
So and the far, and again, I'm going to reshare my screen. I'm just going to show one example here. Let's go back to Julie Moretti for a sec.
Well done, Nancy.
Yeah, really well done.
Thank you.
Because that is
It took a little practice.
I'm going to show you because the ultimate aim, speed, fruit, dropping, what I want it to come up, is what we ultimately want to get to, right? Is this kind of stuff. So you can see Nancy was close, really close, but this is really fast shutter speed. Now this one is using flash. This has got a, but you can do this, you can do this with the flashlight. As I said, the fun thing about this technique is you can pick up anything in your kitchen and you can create something really, really, really interesting. This is basically what Nancy did. That's very close. But that's
with the black, whatever fabric.
Yeah, Nancy, what did you do? Did you have a black background fabric?
When I did it a few weeks ago, I had a piece of black poster board. This time I had the black, but it was shiny in that background kit.
Yeah.
And I think I would go back to something solid black.
Yeah, and you can buy those on Amazon, little backgrounds if you want. They're relatively cheap. But look how cool something like this.
Cool. Yeah.
So this is a really fun technique. But as we all know, to do this, you have to have good ambient light. It has to be. You can't. Impossible to do this inside.
And I found
Impossible
it.
to do. You said impossible to do inside?
Not impossible, but there's not, you need a lot of available light because your shutter speed is going so fast. The way to cheat it, Cass, and do it inside is you just shine a flashlight onto the vase. And then straight away it thinks it's brighter than it really is.
Okay, I see.
Professional photography, if we get more advanced, which isn't for today, you would use flash. But lots of you don't have flash, so I'm not going to go down that route. Someone else had a question? No? Good. So really good job, Nancy. We know that that's been on everyone's agenda for this class to try to capture a good water splash picture. And I think you achieved it. So just watch out. Let's make those shutter speeds just a little bit quicker, just a little bit. But I kind of really like it on its side like this. In fact, I think you said, let's look at your other one at the same time, just while we're talking about this. So this one's great. Really good. Really, really, really good. And it's really interesting when you, again, I think your shutter speed could have gone a little bit faster. Same, it was at 1/500. You can see it's kind of fast enough to get it, but look, can you see the movement in the tangerine?
Yes.
Quite sharp. And I'd almost rather, Nancy, if you didn't have another light or it was just overcast, push this up. I'd rather you push that up to 5,000 and get this to 1,000, because this is the non-negotiable. This is the thing. Don't get it right, you're not going to freeze the tangerine. But look, even on this one, how interesting it is. Look at the reflections that it started to create. And the faster you use the faster the shutter speed, the more you will see that stuff. And what's neat about fast shutter speed photography is that you see things that our eyes can't see. We don't see it 1/2000, 1/3000, 1/4000 a second. We see it about 1/100th of a second. So you get interesting shapes, light, color, composition that makes people really look at a photo and think, oh, that's interesting, because it's not just a boring picture of a tangerine. So well done, Nancy. Really good. Just watch it. Ideally, just for everyone's reference, if any of you try this again, I want your shutter speeds to be somewhere between 1/1000 and 1/4000. And Nancy's a little bit slow here at 1/500. That makes sense to everyone. And remember, you can go back. I've covered this in extensive detail on another class, which you've got the recording of. So if you want to give it a go again, especially as Joanne says, now the weather's getting better, and you've got more light, pick a strawberry, pick an apple, pick an asparagus, pick an orange, it doesn't matter, and try dropping it in a vase and take a picture. It's a really fun exercise, and it can create really interest. And you don't have to do it on a black background. It could be on a white background. It could be a red background. If you want to get really crazy, remember I showed you that one that I took of the lemon with the, and I said
your jeans.
with my jeans behind it. Exactly. You got it. So, and the reason I did that was because I'm going to get it up for you. I'm going to show you because some people won't know what I'm talking about. Let me just keep on sharing and resharing the screen. So this picture here, right?
Complementary colors.
Complementary colors. That's it. I was like, I think this is going to look better if it's got blue behind it. So it's purely a glass bowl with a pair of jeans that I lay underneath it because I wanted to create some texture, and then I drop the lemon in.
Wow.
This is at 1/2000th of a second, this one. So I could have gone a bit quicker. You can see that it didn't quite freeze the water up here. I just like this particular one because I liked how the water kind of framed the whole lemon. But this is not a difficult technique with the knowledge that all of you have. It's just the case of going out and practicing it. Okay, good. Let's go back. Can you see my Lightroom? Yeah, good. So well done, Nancy. Let's get back. Let's get back. Let's get back to the moments. This one's great. Really good. Very nice use of rule of thirds. I really like how we've offset the kid to the left. I like the fact that you cut off the top of their head to take us into their eyes. I think you could have done a little bit more work on this one in terms of brightening their face relative to that umbrella. Just lifting it a little bit out because I don't want the eye to go to the umbrella. If anything, you could have even pulled across a linear gradient over here to slightly darken the umbrella.
Yes, I actually didn't spend any time on that, to be honest. I was just doing my best to get you a couple pictures. So,
yeah, I'm giving you some ideas, but it's a great.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. I love that. Plus, now I look at it and I don't like that white thing sticking out at the bottom of the frame.
Oh yeah, you mean on the bottom right-hand corner?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a perfect candidate for our remove tool, which is now lives in Lightroom because that's pretty easy. I reckon I could draw.
Yes, I could have easily gotten rid of that.
Yeah, I reckon we go like that, and there it's gone.
Wow.
Okay, but
Drop it even further.
And the kid's in a stroller, right? It's not an umbrella.
Yes. Yes.
I realize it's the hood. It's the hood of a stroller. Well done, Suzette, for getting down low to the kid's level. So we're looking right in their eyes. It's a really emotionally captive thing. The only thing that you messed up here, Suzette, is the focus is on the stroller, not on the person.
Yes.
Which is
I
hard.
see that.
My eye definitely is, and it's white.
Yeah. But the focus just slightly has strayed here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that.
Now, again, I'm going to use this photo as a reminder to show you something. If you take a out of focus picture, in this case, and I take it into Photoshop, there is a great tool that is a rescue remedy for an out of focus picture, which is this triangle over here, the sharpen tool. This one over here, the shortcut key for it. It tells you here, so you can see. So sharpen tool, shortcut key is J. Don't ask me why it's J, but it's J. What this basically gives you is a brush, and out of the brush, the best way to think of it comes magic sharpening dust. And I'm like, out my brush comes magic sharpening dust, and I can control if a little bit comes out, or I can control a lot of it comes out. When I went to this tool that looked like the triangle, at the top here, you can see here, it says strength.
Yep.
That dictates how much magic sharpening dust is going to come out of my brush. If I put it 100%, it's kind of like I start brushing and it all piles out. If I put it at a lower amount, it means it's going to kind of trickle out a little bit more rather than flood out like coming and water out a hose pipe. I generally want, when I use this tool, it to be lower. I usually start somewhere at about 20% on the strength. Reason being, if you over sharpen a picture, which is easy to do because people get super excited about this tool, and I'm going to over sharpen it just to screw it up.
Ugh.
But when you over sharpen it, you create noise. And lots of people go the first time and they go like that and they're like, what happened? That wasn't right. So instead, I want to have more control. So by taking this to 20, and I created a new layer, by the way, which is Command J. You all know that. If I zoom in, I hit Z to get to the magnifying glass and J to get, and I just make my brush bigger with the square bracket keys. Oops, that's definitely not what I want to do. Hold on. That's going to try and remove their eye. Come on. Cancel. If I brush over this very lightly, I'm going to bring some sharpness. It's not going to be perfect because it wasn't sharp to begin with, but I'm going to start to bring some sharp, and I'm doing it very gradually. I'm just brushing and brushing and brushing, and I do a little bit on the nose here. And this is a rescue. This is a real rescue remedy that if you've got a photo that you really want to use, but the sharpness was in the wrong place, I can start to bring back, and you can see it gradually happening. And look at the difference. Before, after. It's subtle, but now the eyes look sharp to me, or sharper. So this is a really, really good tool, but I always say to people, you've got to use it with caution. And the key is when you go to it, this strength has to be 20%. It's like, I could flood it with magic sharpening dust, but I just want to put on a little bit at a time, little bit at a time, little bit at a time. It gives me a lot more control. And then I don't get that horrible noise that happens because I've over sharpened the picture. And if I Command S and I save this back into Lightroom, and I come back to Lightroom, and we look at it compared to the other one, which will come up in a sec.
Oh, it's amazing.
Wow, that's amazing.
Difference, right? It's a really, really good tool. Now, I hope that you don't have to use this much, because I hope that you get the focus in the right place to begin with.
Of course.
A lot of people ask me the question and say, Adam, why can't I just brush on the eyes in Lightroom and then slide up the sharpening slider? It's just not nearly as effective as that sharpen tool. You have to go to Photoshop to do it. But you can clearly, like if Suzette was to print this like as a 8x10, you would see an enormous difference in how this looks and the sharpness on the eyes. So that's a good, had any of you ever seen that tool before?
I've never
Well,
seen
I've
it.
seen it,
And
but I
used
haven't
to
used
use Photoshop almost exclusively.
Yeah, well, it's always been there. It's been there a long time, but more and more stuff, as we know, is getting moved over to Lightroom, which is great because it means we don't have to go into Photoshop. But this is one thing that at the moment you still need to go to Photoshop, work on it, save it. It will save it right next to you always know the one that's got it into Photoshop because it will always say edit.tiff. So we'll always have after the name of the file, it will always say -edit.tiff. That's just how a file comes out of Photoshop. TIFF is just another type of raw file. It's another big file, which is good. The good workflow, just talking about digital workflow for a second, if you got this photo into Lightroom, Suzette, and you're like, I want to sharpen the eyes, that would be the first thing I did.
Okay.
Because what I don't want to do is tons of sliders on this one. And
then go to
Photoshop and then sharpen it. What it does, it produces a new version of the photograph, and the sliders on this one are going to all be at 0. So you're not going to be able to see what you do. So you want to do this first, and then work exclusively on the TIFF file.
All right.
That's good digital workflow file management. Okay, good. Nice job, though. Really nice job of capturing how old are they?
She will be 1 in a couple days.
Nice, very good. My daughter.
It was the teeth. It was the teeth I liked.
Yeah, the teeth are great. She looks very happy. Let's take a look at this one. This one's beautiful. Really nice macro image. Interesting look at the shutter speed on this one.
Yeah.
So we've had to go down to a really slow shutter speed to get into that light to show that dynamic range. But it works here because the flower isn't moving. Nancy, do you take this inside or outside?
That was probably taken inside.
I think it must have been taken inside, because if you took it outside, it wouldn't be this sharp, because the flower would be moving a little bit in the wind. So the beauty of taking it inside is if Nancy had wanted to or needed to, she could have taken her shutter speed down to 10 seconds.
Mhm.
She was on a tripod, so it doesn't make a difference. Really nice use of filling the frame. I kind of, there's lots of ways I'd like to, like, I like what you've got here, Nancy, in terms of a composition, but I'd be interested to see what it looked like if we kind of excluded some of this stuff at the bottom. So we went more like this. In fact, I don't like the top right-hand side of that.
We lost your screen.
Yeah,
Get it back.
not yet.
Not yet.
There you are, yeah. But we don't see the Lightroom.
Okay, hold on. Let me come back. Da, 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 da. Okay, you got it now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I liked Nancy's crop, but I also like my crop, because my crop is bringing more attention to the sharper part and then offsetting it like that. They're both nice. This almost looks like an underwater, like coral reef. It looks like it could be like
Yes.
coral under the ocean. Both are good, just different. I'm just showing different ways to skin the cat. But the setting,
I think it's much more rhythmic the way she took it with that beautiful curve on the right-hand side of the petal.
yeah.
I agree, Charlie. I liked hers.
I'm not saying that my one is better. I'm just showing you different options.
Right.
I agree. I think Nancy's crop is great. Like I love these colors. I love the way that this is all framing it. This is a perfect. I could put this into one of my presentations for Fill the Frame tomorrow. This looks great. Not that I'm going to steal your picture, Nancy. But really nice job. Look as well. What's interesting, Nancy had her macro lens on when she took this. So in order to be able to get an adequate depth of field, her F number had to go pretty high, which is really important. We often forget this when we use macro lenses. We think, oh, my macro goes down to 2.8, 3.5, 4. Problem is, we're doing that and taking a picture like this, a tiny, tiny, tiny part of the flower would be in focus. So Nancy smartly here has gone, even at F11, you can see the bottom petal and the top petal are probably 2 inches apart, but one is totally blurry and one's sharp. So the depth of field is very, very skinny. A, because she's using a macro lens, so the focal length is high. B, because she's relatively close to this thing. Not 10 foot back when she took the picture. So the combination of being close plus the macro lens means your depth of field gets compressed, which means you have to up your F number. The big mistake that people often make is they don't do that, and then they wonder why only a tiny bit is sharp. Now the way round also that you can do is this would be a perfect candidate, Nancy, for some focus stacking. For taking multiple pictures as we move the square around, and then we can put them all together. That's a great way around the fact that a macro lens compresses your depth of field. And a lot of macro photographers use focus stacking. As a reminder, focus stacking is taking a number of different pictures where you move the plane of focus. So if you imagine, let's draw a little diagram here. So here's me taking my picture. Here's like my flower filling the frame. And we always start with the thing that's closest to the camera. I would take a picture and I'd get that in focus. I put my square there. Then I move my square to the petal behind and it gives me that in focus. And I move my square there. And gradually what happens is we take multiple pictures that when we combine them all together, the whole flower's in focus. Putting them together is a Photoshop technique. Can't do it in Lightroom. But focus stacking, I think you've all tried that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you all know that. So I'm not going into too much detail there, but just think about when you've got a macro, especially Nancy, when you've got something that's, I mean, I like the softness here. I like the kind of the blur, but just, and the big part of this is because Nancy's gone to F11. But let's just imagine she didn't have a tripod and she had to take this handheld, or she didn't have as much available light, then her shutter speed or her F number would have had to go lower to let in more light. And then really to get a picture like this, she would have had to focus stack. If you would have taken this picture at f4, you couldn't get a picture like this at f4 with a macro lens. But really nice job, Nancy. Definitely moments. Well done. Let's carry on. Look how fun this one is. This one's
It's got to
great.
be Joanne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good. So this one, iPhone picture. Now, interesting from what we learned at the beginning of the class now we know we could, who took this one?
Joanne.
Joanne, great. So Joanne took this on her iPhone. And look, the iPhone made the decision for Joanne. She didn't even know it, just did it of 1/100th of a second. Because it was like, I've just got to give Joanne a picture where the brightness is correct. But you can see, look at all the movement. Like nothing's quite sharp, right? So Joanne, if I was standing here again with you, I would now want you to go into the Lightroom app, change the shutter speed if you only had your iPhone with you, and just increase it. And I also think in this picture, I kind of like it. Interesting, you went for a panoramic type crop. I wonder if you needed, though, all these kits. There's a lot going on in this picture. I wonder if it looks better. Oops, definitely not if we do that. If it looks better, if we just focus, and I kind of need to unconstrain the crop here. We focus on all those kids looking at that guy diving. We can create a bit of a curve, maybe even want to create a bit more there. We can create a bit of a curve, a line that's taking you, because ultimately where we want to end up is this kid. This is the crazy kid that we want to take a picture of. So I think taking some of that out may have helped there, Joanne. But the main thing is that this is a great example of how it's very hard to take photos of movement on an iPhone, unless you take control of the shutter speed, which is what I've taught you how to do today. But definitely a moment, Joanne. Really good. These kids, what are they jumping into? A river, a canal, a lake?
We live on the Montlake Canal. They're just across the street or across the canal from me, and all of a sudden I saw these kids jumping in.
They must be.
How did they get out, Joanne?
Sorry?
How
There's
did they get?
there's a ledge, which is also very dangerous because this kid was so close. There's about a 18-inch ledge at the water level
Ooh.
that people can walk along.
It must be.
Or kids can walk along, or when they get out of the water, that's how they get out. They step on that.
It also.
There's always action across from my house.
This is the same. This is the same one that you took the pictures of the rowers, right?
Correct.
Same stretch of water. Very good. Yeah, these kids must be freezing. But good capture, really good capture. But let's speed up the shutter speed. Look at this one. This one's really creative. Love this one. This is kind of like Nancy's picture from French Laundry of the chef. But this time you can choose to actually to include a little bit more of the frame. So we have some context that this is in a car, and we can figure out, whereas you could have, but I don't think it would be as effective. You could have just taken this picture, but then we don't have any idea that it's a reflection.
Right. Well, I was buying flowers and I looked up and I thought, oh my God, look at that cloud. It's on the back of a rear view mirror.
Yeah.
And it's right next to my car. So
it's a really good, again, look out of interest though. Look what your camera did to the shutter speed, the iPhone, because it was super bright. So it didn't do that. It didn't do that because this thing was moving. It did it just to try to give you the correct exposure. Look, it tried to keep the ISO low and it pushed the shutter speed really high. Now you didn't really need that here, but it's fine.
No.
But I really, really like the creativity, Joanne. Really interesting picture. Again, I'd be very tempted to see what it looks like if I flip it around. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think I prefer it the way you had it. Yeah, even like these kind of, I'm not sure about these cracks. I'd probably take those out if I was doing something like
Mm-hmm.
this picture. And again, that could be easily achieved by using the, oops, by using the remove tool. You could just make sure when you go on it, there's 3 different options here, remember. Make sure you click on the one on the far left, remove, and then this would be an easy just draw over it. And it will probably, and there we go.
Oh,
And I think it looks a little bit cleaner.
I agree.
There we go.
Yeah.
Before, after. For that, we don't really need to go into Photoshop for. But really good, really, really, really good. Definite good, strong capture of a moment. Let's look at this one.
Oh, nice.
Beautiful, really nice. Love the soft. You almost don't know what it is when you look at it. Almost looks like it could be like a piece of fabric, part of a dress. Like, I love the way that the focus, very nice control here. Look, I think this is Charlie's, correct me if I'm wrong. But
Yeah.
Charlie's at 100 millimeters. So she's got a relatively kind of like Nancy was at 105. Charlie's only at f6. Now, because she's only at f6, that means that we only get this little bit sharp and everything else falls off. Really nice. Did you photograph this against a black background, Charlie?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a piece of velvet. You
Yeah.
still have to fiddle with it, but
No, it looks really, really good. Can you remember whether you handheld the camera here?
yes.
Okay, so just be a little bit careful hand holding it with this shutter speed. It's fine here, and this one looks great, but I bet if you took 10 of these, 4 or 5 out of the 10 would be slightly blurry because you'd see the movement of your hand. So if you're taking this handheld, just here you could have easily took the shutter speed up to like 1/100. ISO would have gone to 400. No problem. Easy. But really creative photograph. How did you get it to stand up like this?
It's lying down.
Oh, it's lying down and you're shooting down on it.
Yeah.
Because it almost looks like it's suspended. Like it almost looks like you're taking a picture of something side on and you've somehow balanced it, or it's like being held up by some strings that you've taken out. It's a real
I have a table that gets the afternoon sun, so I think I did about 100 of these in different shapes and sizes because it's just intriguing to me that they form these funny shapes.
yeah, the lines and the shape and the pattern and the repetitiveness is fascinating.
But I know that the end that I like is blurry.
Oh, is
That
it
left,
is it this bit here that you like?
yeah.
So that's exactly to the point that I just said to Nancy. So
Yeah.
when you use these higher focal lengths, you have to increase your f number. Here, if you would have taken this to f11, Charlie, even probably f8 to f11, this would have all been sharp. Still would have been blurry in the background, which you would have wanted, but more of the front part that you like sharp. And again, this is what ISO is for. If you need to take that to f8, that would be 1 stop of light. That would be 3 clicks. You just take this, that would just go from ISO 100 to 200. It's easy. But really good capture. Really, really good. Very interesting picture. One other thing, actually, I noticed here, Charlie, because I can see all your settings here. And you've got the exposure pretty good here. It looks great. But when you're photographing things, let's say on your table with that lovely afternoon sun, make sure you change your metering mode on your camera from, I can't remember whether you've got, what brand camera have you got?
A Sony A7.
Right. So on Sony, it's called multi. On Canons, it's called evaluative, and on Nikons, it's called matrix. But what that means is when it's looking at the thing, it's trying to give you the correct exposure, Charlie, for everything, for the whole picture. Now, I don't care about the black background here, as in the black background is always going to be black. So the key is to change the metering mode to what we call spot metering. And that's in the quick menu on every one of your cameras. Whether you've got a Sony, a Nikon, a Canon, it doesn't matter. What that means is wherever you put your square, the metering piggybacks off that. That's to say that it's going to give you the perfect exposure for anything that's inside your focus square. And I can see you haven't done that here because it shows me here that it calls it pattern. But generally, I would want you to change to spot metering whenever we're photographing. I'm going to do it under an umbrella. Things. Things could be a flower. Things could be a can of Coke. Things could be some food. If you're photographing a big landscape, we definitely don't spot meter because we need the camera to take into account the sky and the lake and the reflections and the foreground. But when we're taking more of a still life image, you'll get much more accurate results by flicking from matrix, multi-evaluative, depending on the camera you have, to spot metering. And it just, again, this really confuses people because the best way to think about it is you have the focus square that you can move around, and all you're doing is you're making the meter piggyback on the back of the focus square. They're doing two different things. One's for focus and one's for light, but it's just using the same square and it's giving you the perfect exposure for what's inside that square. And it really helps if you have a high contrast scene, and you've got a relatively high contrast scene here with the brights of the subject and the darks of the background, in order to help nail the exposure. Anyone got any questions on that?
Great, thanks.
Yeah, it's a really good tip. I think you nailed it. I think you did a good job, but I think that would have helped. So slightly faster shutters, slightly bigger f number, maybe slightly faster shutter speed, increase the ISO, and switch to spot metering. Okay, look at this one. Wow, great job, Susie. Yeah.
Yes.
Susie, is this water or are they glycerin?
Glycerin.
Yeah. So don't tell anyone that. I just know that because I know that's the cheat to be able to get these to stay, which I mentioned to you before. Really, really, really good capture. Again, I'd probably take out some. I don't know whether you need all of this like foreground up here.
Right. Yeah.
And I really want to just come in right on these beautiful like reflections in these drops. Low, I can't see Susie's numbers, but I can guess. Low F number, relatively low F number. That's how we've got all that bokeh. I think she's pretty zoomed. Susie, was this for your macro lens?
Yes.
Yeah. So macro lens, zoomed in, which is how we've got the shallow depth of field and the beautiful blur behind it. Is that a flower behind it?
It's a flower. It's a red background. Well, no, it's a red flower and a yellow flower. I took it a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously it's really nice in terms of the F number is high enough here where all three of the drops are in focus, which I think you need. I think if one was in focus and the other two were blurry, this would look strange. So yeah, really the only comment I'd have, Susie, is I just think there's just way too much space up there. And we can really emphasize, I mean, you could even go this way. I don't think it's as interesting because I think that kind of feels like the twig is now splitting the frame into two. So instead, I'd kind of use this and I'd anchor the photos as well, especially the way the droplets are pointing. It kind of takes you down into that nice negative space, but really, really good capture. Again, this is a fun one that any of you can play with now the weather's getting better. You can go to any hardware store, you can get it on Amazon, just get a pot of glycerin and a little pipette and just drop it on a branch, drop it on a leaf, especially if
that is easy as he says, honestly.
Sorry, did you say I'm making it sound really easy?
You're making it sound kind of easy. I mean, I'm not trying to flatter myself. I'm just saying, don't walk in assuming you're going to get it. I mean,
that's true. That's true. It is a different, but
hundreds.
This is kind of like the splash technique. It's just a fun project to practice. If you want to set yourself an ambitious theme, say, I'm going to spend 2 hours today trying to get these shots. And you're right. Susie may have done this 50 times and the drops look terrible. But that's the more you practice, the better you get at it. And also you learn which settings do it. You really need a macro lens to do this as well. which I think all of you have. Very hard to do without a macro lens, but really nice job, Susie. Very, very good. Definitely moments. Look at this one. Who can spot the moment here? What's going on?
Little bird.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So this picture without the bird, I think, would be relatively boring. It would be okay. But the bird is definitely making it. Now, Susie, was this your one again?
No.
Suzette's.
Suzette, great. Suzette, did you do something to the sky here to make it look like a painting?
No, I did nothing.
Oh,
This was just with my iPhone last week in Arizona, trying to come up with some moments between things I had to be doing there.
yeah. But I think
Yes.
I think you've got it. The reason I asked is because the sky almost looks quite painterly, and I was wondering how that happened. It'd be interesting to go back to the original.
Totally an accident.
Well, it was a good accident to make. Now again, what does this look like? Maybe if we go more extreme and we take out some of that and we crop him more like that.
I agree.
I think
I
that
agree. And it was actually bigger, and because of the resolution, because it was an iPhone, and I just didn't have to. Oh, that's kind of interesting.
yeah. What about that?
I just didn't have an opportunity to go in and like enhance it in Lightroom in order to make it still work if I kept cropping it and cropping it. So
That's okay.
but that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Look how if we get the bird, he's kind of sitting on the golden ratio there, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's close to the spiral, and that's a real like you look at that, and I think you get drawn more to the bird in that one than you do.
Yes, I agree with you. Thank you, Adam. Yes.
But I keep thinking how that must hurt his feet.
That's a cactus wren, though. They live for that. They go in and out of those little holes.
Yeah, you can see his nest that he looked like he was making.
That over here is that
There,
over here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Over there. So what they peck into the cactus.
Yes.
Fascinating. What's the bird called? Did you say, Suzette?
A cactus wren, WREN.
Cactus wren. Yeah. We have plenty of wrens in the UK. Winnie the Pooh. If you do it again, this is a kid's reference. There's a wren in Winnie the Pooh. If you know what Winnie the Pooh is, it's a kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't know if that had ever made it to America. If that was.
Oh
any-
yes. Oh yes.
I have the whole stack of books.
So Christopher Robin, and there's also a wren. Anyway, really nice, really interesting. I do like it just taking out some of the negatives. Look how much I cropped out. So I cropped out a
It
little.
looks like SpaceX
Yeah, it
going
does.
into space.
It almost looks like, I hate to say this, Suzette, it almost looks like an AI picture. Because
Oh no, it's not. It's for real.
I know, but because it almost looks so abstract. You're like, and you have the way the lines and the birds, it almost looks like you put it together, which is a compliment, which is good. So,
well, that's nice, but I didn't.
A little maneuvering in horizontal.
look at this one.
Wow.
Yeah, this one's great. Proud American Eagle, 2 of them. Look at so here we've got the 400 lens, zoom right in. Nice. I think the shutter speed could have gone a little bit faster here, purely because I always want the shutter speed generally to be anticipating the fastest possible movement of the subject. And if this eagle suddenly went and started flying, I want you to be able to get it. And the shutter speed here was perfect for them sitting perched on the branch, but not necessarily perfect for if they flew away. I love the light.
Nice side lighting.
Yeah, the lighting's beautiful. I love how they're looking the same way. I mean, I'd almost be tempted to crop this one as a landscape and just take out all that clutter and go to there.
Wow. That's nice.
Oh wow, their eyes really show up when it's cropped more.
Yeah, and well, it's also just, if I go back, there's a lot of, because the eagle is kind of the same color and texture as the branch at the bottom, it's almost camouflaging a little bit in. If I take out a lot of that brown hue of the twigs and things at the bottom, I'm really, and especially if I kind of anchor it so the eagles have some space to look into, then I'm really putting them up against the blue sky more. and their beaks and their eyes and the lovely light on their feathers.
Oh, yeah.
Everything
Beautiful.
shows up really nicely.
Who took that?
I had 11 people coming for Passover at this very moment, and a neighbor said, "Oh, you've got to see what's happening in the park," which is half a block away. So I ran down there with my camera, and it was like 6
Wow,
o'clock.
Joanne, very cool.
Amazing,
And
yeah.
I've never seen two eagles this close together in this park at all. But
Yeah, I mean, it almost looks like you put the second one in because they almost look like twins. They look so,
Yeah.
they look
well,
so
but
similar.
the female is on the right. The female is the larger one.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I'm
really good, Joanne. And I think you can do some work. I think this picture merits some work. You could like lift up the coat a little, like the feathers. So I just used a radial there. I could put a little bit more texture, maybe a little bit of a tone curve in there, just to really bring it out. I could do the same on this one over here. Again, I'm doing it fairly quickly, but if I put a little bit of a tone curve, increase the
Texture really shows up.
I took it with a phone, and then I said, "No, I got to run home and get my camera." And I'm so glad that I found out about it because it's very unusual.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And they were still there after you ran home. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see? Did they move? Did you happen to see them fly away?
I had to go to dinner, so I didn't.
So you missed it. Well, then maybe they're still there.
No, they weren't there the next day. No.
But really, really good capture. Excellent. Everything's right here. As I say, I just maybe would have just increased your shutter speed just a tiny bit, just to anticipate. You can even see here that the eagle has moved its like wing a little bit. And again, this is me being hypercritical on you, Joanne. Hypercritical. But hopefully to help you improve, you can see it's not quite sharp there. It's just the wing just moved a tiny bit and your shutter speed wasn't fast enough. But really good. This would be a fun one, Joanne, to enhance with the super resolution in Lightroom and really play on getting close to the eagles. Because I think you could really get some really interesting, like even if we went, and I'm going to lose the resolution here, I'm not going to have as much. But even if you went really close in here, oops, sorry. If we went really close, but you just really make it about those two eagles.
Oh, nice!
Wow.
Look how good that looks.
And I'm very excited about this image just because it's so unusual.
It's really unusual. I think you can create some, but Joanne, play around with remember the enhanced super resolution and then crop it.
Okay.
Don't crop it before, because that's going to give you that's going to almost make it feel like you were 10 feet closer to the eagles to begin with. Excellent. I love how they're looking like exactly the same.
I know, isn't that? I mean, it was
Great.
I'm just so lucky that I was able to catch it.
Yeah, well, it's a moment. That was the theme.
Right.
That was the theme, is right.
So really nice job.
Adam, are we ever going to get to our other?
I know. I was it may have to wait till the next. We went down a rabbit hole, and I want to make sure that I see everyone's pictures because otherwise, so
yes, I understand.
Yeah, thank you for. Don't worry, I was thinking that in my head, but we have but we have another class. So so don't worry.
I'm going to miss that one, but I'll look at the recording. Yes.
Don't worry, we'll get to it. Live picture. Look at beautiful. Interesting. Look how the focus is just on the eyes, which is great. The whiskers and the nose out of focus. Nice fast shutter, relatively fast shutter speed. This thing wasn't moving too fast. I think on this one, Nancy, you could definitely put it through the denoise treatment, enhance. If you haven't already, you can see that there's quite a lot of noise in the background here.
Yes.
Which would get rid of if you just use that enhance, the noise reduction would work. But a very, very good wildlife picture. Filling the frame. I really like. He almost looks like he's giving us the stink eye. Even the sand and stuff like around the eye. There's a lot of. I think you would do a bit more work here. Again, I'm a big fan of the radius.
I think all I did was crop it and took the linear gradient on the right hand side to darken that bright area.
Yeah. So I'd probably just bring out, look at can you see me bringing out the texture there?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring out so that's no texture, that's more texture. But really, really good capture. I really like it. Again, I would have ideally liked your shutter speed to be a tweeny bit faster. But that's okay, because I know it was dark when you were taking the picture.
I think I was on a tripod. No?
No, you were standing next to me, and you definitely weren't on
Okay.
Nancy came on a workshop to Point Reyes with me, which is like just north of San Francisco, and they have 3 months of the year these seals and sea lions and these big elephant seals come and they migrate and they come back to the same beach every single year. So yeah, they're fun to go and photograph. Cool. This one's definitely a moment.
Yes.
This makes it feel like I'm in London.
This is Seattle. This is my backyard.
So I love everything about this picture in terms of moments, but I don't like this. I think this is distracting. I think if it was off slightly to the side, but I think the way in which just where it is, there's an argument to be made. Maybe it's a leading line taking you down to the table and the grill, and everything else is framing it. I think it just would be a better picture without that there. Moving slightly to the right, literally, Joanne, it's taking 2 steps to the right from where you are, and this goes over here. It would move that over there. But definite moment, again, Joanne took this on her iPhone. Look at the shutter speed, 1/230. If she wanted to now, she could use the Lightroom app and she could speed her shutter speed up on her iPhone to 1/1000. You'd see every little drop of frame.
Oh, interesting.
Kind of like Susie's picture in the dropping of the rain and the puddles. And even on this picture, I'd be tempted to maybe take out some of the background. I don't know whether we need it all. Let's have a look. And even just come in more like that. A really nice picture. Now, actually, that thing doesn't bother me as much. Because it's not prominent, the leaf coming in.
Because it's less percentage of the photo.
Yeah, exactly. It was just taking up a lot of space. And I didn't feel like it was adding anything. But I love that. Joanne, you should definitely have fun that I'm just spotting in your yard, fun things to play with. This would be a really fun sculpture. I think, is it a sculpture back there?
It is, and you can circle it, and there's holes where the arrow is. I do play with putting flowers in there, and
yeah, that looks like definitely an interesting thing to experiment with. But really, again, nice job and nice interpretation of the theme. Let's look at this.
we'd been on a birding trip, and it had been pouring rain, and it was still pouring rain when I got home.
I love this one. This one's really creative. Is this yours, Suzette?
It is.
Yeah, really, really nice.
Looks like you painted it.
It does.
Nope, I did not paint it. I was at the Phoenix Botanical Garden walking around, and it was just kind of interesting how the 2 cacti framed the background.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And this is what we call a natural frame. And even those cacti at the bottom, everything's taking you to this beautiful, like painterly, fluffy cumulonimbus sky. And yeah, to Charlie's point, it's very layered, this picture. It has a lot of dimension because of the frame. Again, I think if you worked on it, Suzette, just one tip that you could do, I think do you take this in the middle of the day sometime?
It was prior to lunchtime.
Okay, so yeah, it's probably about 11 o'clock, let's say. So I can tell that because I can see that the picture has a lot of polarized light in it, which are the eye. So again, the dehaze slider would be a great friend here to play with.
Oh yeah, look at how that
wow.
that helped dramatically.
Yeah. Because ideally, if we were photographing this with a camera, we'd have a circular polarizer on our lens, but we don't have that on our iPhone. So when the sun is very high, which it was at like 11 o'clock, there's a lot of that polarizing light, and that polarizing light creates haze. When we cut the polarizing light, we get increased color, increased contrast, increased clarity. And this dehaze slider was designed precisely for that reason. In fact, it was designed by a load of people who work for Adobe, because in San Francisco, there's so much fog the whole time they were going out and taking pictures and they wanted to cut through the fog. And that's what the D8 slider was originally designed to do. But now a great tool for it is to recreate the use of a circular polarizing filter. And now I think that really pops.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's some work again, Suzette, that could be done to help bring down like maybe the overexposure a little bit in the cloud.
Yes.
Taking down the highlights, you could create a mask. There's tons of things you could do here. But really, really, really interesting picture. Nice job. And then this is yours as well, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
There was these amazing eucalyptus trees. They were just like astounding. And it was just very interesting to me.
I'm wondering, is that a wall, this brown thing?
That's an adobe wall behind it.
That's a wall, yeah, that's what I thought. Because I'm wondering if I took that out a little bit, whether it takes you more. I mean, even to be honest, there's a picture to be had here that's just of this like
Yes.
interesting stuff here.
Yeah,
Wow.
I can see that.
And then and look how
That's what drew me to it. It was just, and actually I have a lot of photos of just the trunk.
yeah. And there you've got a clear S curve. It's really interesting. So tons of ways you can take a picture. Again, really interesting to see what the iPhone originally did with the shutter. Just put it at like a random number, 1/290. You can't get there on your camera, but it put you there because it wanted to give you a picture as you. And this was a hard picture at the beginning for the camera because it was high contrast, very bright sky, very shadowy trunk. One thing you could have done, Suzette, you could have put your camera. Imagine this is the trunk of the tree. You could have taken your camera and you could have put it right on the trunk.
Oh,
Literally touching the trunk.
yeah.
That would have given you a really unique view that you would never see looking up it.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
to
Interesting idea. Thank you.
yeah, I use that a lot for like the redwood trees in California. It's a great trick to be able to really see the lines and the patterns and the shapes as you literally put your phone or your camera right up against the tree and point up. And that's easier to do on a phone actually than it is to do on a camera, because on a camera you got to get yourself into position to get there. Or you can use, I know some of you have a screen.
Yeah, those screens that flip out kind of help you be able to do those weird things.
So I know a few of you have that, so take advantage of the screens as well, because then you don't have to be a contortionist and have to put yourself under the tree looking up. But yeah, very, very, very interesting shot, Suzette. Really interesting. And then last but not least, great eyes this kid's got. I love how the eyes and the sweater almost mirror each other. Really interesting. I'd be tempted on this one. I think there's a little bit too much. What do you think I'm going to say, Susie?
Oh, no, nothing. Nothing.
No, I know it's not your picture. I'm just asking you what you think I'm going to say.
Oh, too much of the background and too much distraction.
Yeah, well, not even distraction. I just don't think you need all that, like that.
Yeah.
Coming out of that right-hand side. I think we can take all of that out. And even just that slight crop is better. Again, this would be one where I'd be look, the iPhone went to 1/40th of a second because it was inside. That means the kid is not quite sharp. So if you
F18? No, because of the speed, right?
yeah, exactly. So the speed was 1/40th. And the speed on an iPhone, it's first thing it does when you're inside is it slows the speed down. That's why often you see where it says hold still, please hold still, please hold still, because it's trying to get a sharp picture with a slow shutter speed. And that's the only reason this kid's eyes are not sharp, because the shutter speed is. So we can go back now and we could do this, or we can use our new tool. And if I come and I brush on the eyes, watch the difference that this makes. If it lets me do it, there we go. Okay, I'm just gonna, so my sharpening dust is at 23%. I'm just gonna.
We can't see that.
Can't see what you're doing.
Oh, you should have told me. You should have told me.
I did.
Oh, I know you did. I know you did. Hold on, sorry. I mean, you should have told me earlier. There we go. Okay, great.
And is she giving you the finger?
No.
No, that's an index finger.
Oh, okay. I thought she had her index
his
wrapped
little,
underneath
his
her
little thumb. He was so adorable. I haven't had a baby around for a long time, and this is right in the kitchen with
Oh, this is Joanne. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Joanne, and look at the difference when I sharpen
Yeah,
as you guys.
amazing.
That's fabulous.
So this tool is a fantastic tool when you either have a little bit of motion blur or your focus is in slightly the wrong place to be able to get it back.
Did you do that in Photoshop or did you do
Yes.
that in Lightroom?
Yeah,
right.
using that little triangle thing on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
left-hand side.
Yeah, I just couldn't see the
I
Photoshop.
took it into Photoshop, and that to Suzette's point, that triangle tool is called the sharpen.
Yes,
It's called
yes.
the sharpen tool.
Great.
The key is that I used it at a very small strength.
Oh, yes.
I did a little bit and then a little bit and then a little bit, rather than just dumping sharpening dust onto the kid's eyes, where it probably would have over sharpened it, and then we would have got noise.
Oh.
So that's a really neat tool for you guys to play with. Okay, good. Excellent. I think that was the last picture actually. Anyone got any? Yeah, perfect timing. Anyone got any questions on anything that we covered today?
Well, not what we covered today, but I'm going to miss next time. And I'm just hoping maybe in the fall we can resume some classes.
Yeah.
If the rest of the group is interested, I would be.
I would be.
Absolutely.
So much fun and really helpful.
Yeah, I
So-
feel like I really like this group. You guys are a really nice, like you're all at a very similar level, which helps, and you're all producing very interesting, diverse, like unique photography. Yeah, I'd be delighted to carry on
good.
again. I'd take a break over the summer, and we can start up in September.
Great. Love it.
Yeah, and I've got tons of things I want to teach you. It's just I can only get so much into a 1-2 hour block.
That's what
We're
we're
not getting-
anticipating.
And we're not getting any younger.
And I don't want to forget about backups.
Don't worry, Suzette. We'll cover it.
Susie, but I won't be there next time. So I just
Don't you
want,
have an external hard drive?
yeah, I do, but I have so many questions, but I'm not going to be there next time. It's okay.
Okay.
Maybe I'll.
So hold on. Let me distill this. So Susie, when I talk about backups, right, I am going to talk about it in the next lesson. I'll make sure I carve out half an hour to do it. The problem with that, full disclosure, full disclaimer, is everyone's computer is set up slightly differently. So I can give a kind of very generalist, this is the good protocol, but what I can't see is your computer may have all your raw pictures hiding in one place, Nancy's may have them in another place, Joanne's may have them in another place. So often if you have a lot of specific questions about file management, or if you're having difficulties, definitely reach out to me, because I think in an hour I could probably clean up your computer and get you on a perfect thing, but I can't do that in a group setting.
I think I'm fine, but I just wonder, the ultimate question is, how many backups systems do you need? That's the ultimate question.
It depends how neurotic you are, that you're worried that your backups are going to blow up. But usually we
How
say,
neurotic do we need to be is the
well,
question.
it's a good, yeah, and I would usually say 3.
Okay.
But I'll talk about that. I'm gonna like outline it all. I actually had it
Okay.
ready to go today. I just got distracted. But go back and listen to the recording, and if you have questions
I will.
on the next
I will.
lesson, you just shoot me an email.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So
Sorry, I have to leave. I have somebody stopping at my house.
okay, yeah, I'm gonna, do you know what I'm
Thanks,
gonna do?
everybody.
I'm gonna-
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I'm going to email you all a theme, because I want to have a think about what to give you, and I can't think right off the top of my head. By the end, when I send the recording this afternoon, this evening, I'll send you the theme for this week. And then let's just confirm our final class is
May
Seven.
7th.
7th.
May 7th. Yeah, we're having a break because you guys are away. So Wednesday, May 7th at 9 o'clock. Perfect. So you got a couple of weeks. Great. Good, everyone. Well done. I will see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.